Today we are going to take a look at three AI powered IDs side by side. The reason I think side by side comparison can be interesting is because they look and behave differently. So I wanted to put them together and understand the differences between all these three tools. The three tools which we are going to look at is on the left hand side you have a command line kind of a tool which is ada.chat. So ada is written in Python. On right hand side you have Kiro, which is on top of VS Code, and this is more like an IDE. And in between these two, you have WAP, which is written in Rust, and it gives you a flavor of both being a terminal and an IDE. The idea I have for today is of medium complexity, I would say. It's not a simple script. But what I want to do is, because I've started creating these videos, I don't want to be wasting my time into editing the boring bits of the video. So I want to, using LLMs, I want to understand the best parts of the video, and I also want to take away very easy things like take away the silent part of the videos and so on. The first step is for any new Aider invocation, it will ask you to create a Git repo, which is great. So that's nice. And I can talk about how each of these tools behave with the source control. But with Aider, the primary thing is that every change in Aider is a Git commit, which is already great. The interface is very simple. There is a single chat box here, which is like an Omni box, which is it. There's an auto detection. You can make it agent mode or command mode or maybe some other stuff. And anything you do, it endeavors to understand your intent and then goes and does those things. So this is WAP. And then finally you have Kiro, which is more IDE like, and based on VS Code. You start out with two different, once you open a folder, you start out with two different options. One is Vibe, which is a lightweight AI help, and Spec, which is more like let's create a new project. And we are going to use Spec today. But let me start with Ada. So this is what I want to do. I want to create a program which will take a video as input, then do the following things. It will detect the silent part, remove it. I have locally installed Whisper, so it will create a subtitle file from the audio. Then it will use LLM call to figure out the most interesting part of the video and drop the boring bit. Finally, it will give a single video as an output after performing the above. So Aider has given me a bunch of code already. It says that I'll scaffold a simple CLI tool, and that's it, right? So it is intent. The intent is to only scaffold a simple CLI tool, right? And it's going to use some libraries that's on the requirement.txt and so on. And it is asking me that should I go ahead and do these things. I will say yes, 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 and meanwhile I'll go and check WAP. WAP is interesting. So instead of just telling me bunch of things, it is giving me a bunch of tasks. That its intent is now that it is going to implement these bunch of tasks, and it says that I'm going to do the silent detection, whisper transcription, content analysis, and so on and so forth. It'll also create readme, so which is slightly more interesting. I'll go and apply these changes, and meanwhile I'll also go to Kiro. Kiro is very interesting, obviously. So Kiro is deep dive and start saying that I'm going to create a requirement.txt, so requirement.md, and in this you can see that there is, as a content creator, so this is the structured way of going about collecting requirements. Now, because this is user editable, I can go and change this or do whatever I want. Which is, you can see there's a spectrum of possibility with AI tools. One is very minimal, then something in between, and then it goes. This is a full blown project management, requirement gathering kind of exercise. So, but I'll quickly move on to the design phase and let it work. Meanwhile, I go to Ada. And Ada, meanwhile, has created just three files, and it is asking me that can I run. Yes, you can. Warp is that it has a bunch of tasks to execute, and it will ask your permission for each and everything. Now, this is great, but for our purpose, what I'm going to do, there's a toggle here, which will, you'll shortly see, which will auto approve all agent action for this task. So I'm going to turn that on and forget about it. So this is a more fire and forget tool. And I hope at the end of all the task execution, we will get to see something. There will be an output. I'm entirely not sure whether it will work or not, but it will be much more substantial than what Ada is going to give us. And meanwhile, let me go and check with Kiro. Kiro has given me a design document now. And in the design document, you Kiro is telling me about what it can do, it cannot do, what it is planning to do, what kind of architecture it's planning to follow, and so on. There's talking about the core components, the kind of interfaces it's going to build, and so on and so forth. So at this point in time, it is your prerogative as a programmer to make sure that the design document is perfect and you're happy with all the changes being proposed. And let's say if you're not happy with Python or you want to do something else, you can ask. You can say that no, I don't want this to be written in Python because I believe Golang would be more performant or whatever. And you can ask it to change the design. And let's skip this and let's move to implementation plan. Meanwhile, let's go check what's happening with Ada. Ada is still, so the thing with Ada, the good thing about Ada is that it keeps track of the cost all the time. So this is the total cost for the session. This is your current running cost. But for now, I'm just going to say yes. So every step, there is a user. So right now, Ada is done. So the controller is back to me. Tree here. And see the output, you will see that there are just two files, and I'm sure these files will be quite empty as well. So if you see the bunch of to-dos, there's nothing in the code itself. There must be some minimal configuration, but that's pretty much it. Now, Ada wants you to guide the whole process, and which is fine, which is probably what a lot of people like. I am going to take a look at Warp. Warp is doing its thing. It is going through each steps and it's going to create something. Let me go back to Kiro. Kiro, on the other hand, is ready with everything. So just after requirement and design, Kiro created a task list, and I'm going to look at that and then show you the task list here. So if you just click on task.md, you will see that this is the most critical part in the development process for Kiro. At this point in time, Kiro has a list of tasks, which just like what Warp had, but this is more user configurable, where I am able to participate in the process and I can tell that you have to do these things or you don't have to. Now, this task list is quite comprehensive. It also talks about the requirements or kind of a dependency graph as well. So at this point in time, you can go and say that no, do this, but don't do that, and so on. And so let's start. Let's start with what I'll, instead of, you can click here, you can say start task, but what I'll do is, can you start executing the task one by one without waiting for user input. Let's see how well that works and see what's happening with Warp. Now, what at this point in time, I'll like to say goodbye to Ada because I just wanted to give you how these tools have been progressing, right? So Ada was one of the first in the scene, and there are many tools like this. This is not the only one. But this is the kind of, this is where it stops. So now we've gotten rid of Ada, and now we're going to focus on top is your Kiro, and on the bottom is WOP. And the implementation plan has bunch of tasks. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 tasks to be done, and that takes a bit of time. Kiro does very well is the fact that it, in my, from what I have seen, I think it tries to run test in between. So it is writing test and running test while it is working on the task. So which hopefully should result in more robust code. We can talk about cost. So in the first paid plan for Kiro is you get something like 225 for $20 you get 225 spec request. So each of this I think is a spec request, I may be wrong, but anything else is a vibe request, and there are a higher number of vibe requests available. So 225 is not much in my opinion. And if you're doing things like this, you can blow up very quickly. So WAP has finally completed all the tasks. Kiro is still running. Kiro has a more comprehensive list of tasks. So to be clear, this is not a test of speed. We're not pitting one ID against another for and testing for speed, because they're probably doing different set of things. But WAP has come back and said that it has completed stuff. Um, so let's see, let's try and run. What I'm going to do is run for a video which I have. It's a 20 minutes video, and let's see what happens with it. So I'm going to run this for the command which WAP tells me to run. There are a couple of parameters. I've changed some parameters by default in config.yaml, made the silence threshold to something like 2 seconds, and interest threshold I'm keeping it low so that it's not very aggressive, because to be honest I'm not very interesting. So let me run this. It is, as I said, it is running different tests with every task. It's writing new tests, so it's saying 25 tests passed and so on and so forth, and it is going on to the new task. So now it has completed 8, going to 9, and then there'll be probably a 10. So this is still continuing. We can take a look into how the project structure is for Kiro. So this is how it looks like. Kiro creates a design requirement task. Obviously, this is Kiro created. But then after that, there's a test folder as well. And this is probably the main module. So it does a bunch of things, and each one of them are in a different file, which is probably how it should be for a long running project. WAP is now, once give prodded a little bit, it is now trying to run the script with the input, and it is autonomous in that way. So once it finds an error, trying to fix that error and trying to run it again. And in the process, I've seen another interaction that in the process it'll also write small tests. So very functional. No, it does not, though it does not go and create a vast project structure and so on. But from it is quite adequate. Meanwhile, we'll take a look into Kiro, and Kiro looks like it has finished all the tasks. So if I go and check the task file, I will see that the last task is complete. Task complete number 10. Create end-to-end integration and quality assurance. So that's great. So finally, in interest of time, Kiro has come back and ran the script and created a video one underscore process.mp4, and it has removed silence and so on. And also, if you see, WAP has done the same. So there is a video one, and I've verified that is working. And we're still waiting for it to create a final video, but that's taking a bit of time. I'm going to end the demo now. So far, these two tools, in a very autonomous fashion, were able to give me very close to what I wanted, and it has all the functionalities. There's no missing functionality and so on. And yes, so quite happy with both the tools. There are different approaches which I've highlighted, but that's all for now.